What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is the Real Housewives of New Jersey Retro Review, Season 3, Episode 5. So we start this episode off. Caroline got the job down to the radio station. It's going to be Caroline. Is it Caroline's Rules? I don't even remember, but it's Caroline giving everybody some good old-fashioned, Italian mother advice. And she's a little nervous, so we see her talking to her friend Dolores. Y'all know I love Dolores, okay? I love Dolores in real time. So Dolores is there and doing what a good friend does, cheering her on, egging her on, telling her, girl, you got this. And then they end up talking about Teresa. We find out that Teresa is supposed to be having an auction for her items, but later on she says the auction ain't really happening. Child, Teresa is in La La Land. And one thing that everybody agrees with is that Teresa is not really dealing with what she has going on in her real life. And maybe this whole situation with Joe is somewhat of a deflection. Now, I'm going to get to that in a minute because I got a lot to say. Okay. What else happened? Teresa. Oh, and they talked about Teresa and Melissa trying to clear things up and make up. And, of course, remember, Dolores and Teresa have been friends for a long time as well. So she's got a little bit of insight on it. And, basically, what I heard Dolores say, she said it in her Dolores way, but what I heard her say basically was, once Teresa makes up her mind about something, it's really hard to change it, and it's really hard to get her to see it from anybody else's perspective except for her own, and that's probably going to be a hard thing. And fast forward to we'll be going to season 14, and we know where we are. So, Teresa and Joe are meeting up. We see Teresa getting ready. We see Joey with Melissa getting dressed. They meet up at the restaurant. And listen, I was here for how Joe started this conversation. Now, I feel like both of them got a little heated. Joe started getting a little heated. But I was here for how he started the conversation because he said, listen, you wrote me this letter. Let me read you back what you said. You said you apologize for everything. What is it that you're apologizing for? Because here's the thing. If you don't know why you're apologizing, then this letter is mute. If you're just saying it to just be saying it, then it's mute. But if you honestly know what it is that I'm upset about and why things went left, then that's where we can start from. Now, let me tell you, what I picked through this conversation is that both of them have issues with each other's spouses. Joey feels like Teresa's husband has an issue with him, even though I feel like they were friends at one time or they grew up together or whatever. And Teresa has an issue with Melissa. That's how Joey feels. He also feels like that Teresa has the ear of their parents, and so whichever way Teresa goes is the way his parents go, which has sort of left him as odd man out. Then they talk about Kathy. Now, Teresa even said, well, me and Kathy were best friends. Kathy did my hair and my makeup for my Sweet 16. Kathy did this. Kathy did that. But then she started hanging with Melissa, even though she knew how I felt about Melissa. And I just felt like she did that to spite me. Maybe she was just trying to give Melissa a chance, Teresa. Again, I don't know all the ins and outs. I'm on the outside looking in, and I'm trying to get a little piece of this pie. Maybe she just was trying to give Melissa a really honest shot, and she actually likes her. I don't know, but everything is not about you, Teresa. Everything is not about getting at or getting back at Teresa. Then they got to talking about the tit for tat, and why did Teresa say this about the house? Why did Melissa say that in the card? And Teresa was like, well, if somebody comes for me, yeah, I'm going to go tit for tat with them. If I feel like somebody's taking a shot at me, then I'm going to take a shot at them. So again, how do we move forward? And that's basically what Teresa said. Teresa was like, well, where do we go from here? How do we move forward? And Joey was like, listen, if you want me in your life, you and Melissa got to figure out a way to get past whatever it is that y'all got going on. Like, I love you. I miss you. All of that is cool. But Melissa is my wife, and she's a part of my family, and she's going to be there. So you need to talk to her. So she said that she would talk to Melissa. We'll get to that later. Caroline did her radio show. It was cute. It was real cute. She was nervous at first, and she was doing a whole lot of ums and ahs, which I still do on my channel, on my videos. So I know how hard it is to feel like you gotta, But once the phone calls started coming in, she fell right into Carolyn Manzo mode, and she did a really good job. And it showed everybody was listening to the show and all that good stuff. So it was cute. That was cute. We see where Melissa and Joe, Kathy and her husband ended up going having dinner over at another family, the accountants, the family accountants. And first of all, why Kathy shade that lady for having a chef and not cooking her own food? And it's funny because fast forward to now, child, they be having chefs all the time. Now they do still cook. Teresa, I remember it wasn't this last season, it was the season before last when they were all down at the shore and all the women were in the kitchen cooking while the guys were doing whatever the hell the guys were doing. And I thought that was so cute. It was Dolores and Teresa and Melissa and I don't know if Jennifer was there, child. Was Jennifer there? Margaret was there, so Jennifer must have been there. And they were all in the kitchen cooking in like a home cook from scratch meal while the guys were, like I said, probably outside getting drunk, child. But anyway, so they do still cook, but they be having chefs and stuff, child. They be having people take care of the food. But I felt like I was side-eyeing this couple a little bit. I forget their name, child. I was side-eyeing them a little bit because I felt like they was being real shady. They were the ones that brought up Teresa in the auction. And Joe, bravo Joe, because Joe really tried to sidestep it. He didn't want to get into that conversation. He didn't want to discuss his sister and her financial situation at all. But of course, they brought it up and they were talking about it. And then Kathy's husband was like, I mean, I wish they had come to us because, I mean, I would have helped them out. Wouldn't you have helped them, Joe? And Joe was like, of course, like, that's my sister. Like, if she had called, absolutely, I would have tried to help, you know. And I feel like everybody feels that way. Like, I don't feel like there's anybody on the show that wouldn't have tried to help Teresa and Joe if they had asked for it. But I don't think anybody's actually asking for help. Right? Something else Teresa and Joe brought up was the whole book signing thing. Now, I'm with you, Teresa, on this one. Joe was like, well, you never invited me. And she was like, you don't invite somebody to a book signing. They show up to support. He talking about something, well, nobody in our family's written a book before. You got to teach me. Somebody got to teach you that you don't have to be invited to a book signing. She's like, well, you never congratulated me on my book. She was like, you going to congratulate me now? He was like, maybe. He was like, not yet. See, I don't have time for that. Like to me, that was just a whole lot of unnecessary extra. So Teresa ended up talking to Jacqueline and kind of debriefing with her how the conversation went with Joey. And I figured it out. I got to the crux of the issue. I know what it is, y'all. I know what it is. And because in my mind, I have figured out what the problem is, I know, in my mind, I feel like I know where the blame goes. Teresa, you decided that Melissa was a gold digger, and there's nothing that anybody can say or do to change your mind. She still talks about Melissa being a gold digger and only marrying her brother for his money and not loving him. Child, they have children in college. Well, not quite. But, like, Antonia is literally a high school senior. If she married that man for his money, she fell in love and she stuck around. Because at this point, it is what it is. But she said, well, they met each other. She moved in a month later. They were married 7 months later. And she said, you know, I saw it when I first went to Joe's house. I saw his house. I'm no fool. I'm not stupid like my sisters. Insinuating that basically Joe got money and I'm going to put my hooks in him. Melissa probably said it. And Melissa probably meant it. But at the end of the day, again, fast forward 18 years later. Because they were together 6 years when this was filmed. They had been married for 6 years when this was filmed. That was season 3. We are in season 14. Teresa, when you going to let that go? But that's really what it is. So I feel like from the point that Teresa decided Melissa was a gold digger, I don't think it was anything Melissa could do or say. And I do believe that the mama follows wherever Teresa's thought process is. And I feel like the mama don't really have no love for Melissa. Now, that doesn't mean Melissa has done everything right or said all the right things or done all the right things. Do I think that Melissa has been petty? Yes. Do I think that they've gone back and forth? Absolutely. I'm talking about as of season 3. I ain't talking about where we are today. But I also think that if I had to guess, Teresa started it. Because Teresa decided that Melissa was a gold digger. And at that point, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what Melissa did or said. So do I think at a certain point Melissa stopped trying? Yep. Do I think at a certain point Melissa was like, well, it doesn't matter what I do. I say, y'all don't like me. Y'all hate me. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, granted, I reserve the right to change my mind because I'm in season 3 and I still have 7 more seasons to get to, okay? So I reserve the right to change my mind when I get more information. But based on that conversation that I heard tonight when Teresa was talking to Jacqueline, that is how I feel this whole thing broke down. And I do feel like Teresa is one of those people, it's all or none. You either with her or you against her. And I think that the minute Kathy got cool with Melissa and started hanging out with Melissa, Teresa saw Kathy as a traitor and as a hater. And, you're with her, so you're against me. That's how I feel. So Jacqueline said, look, girl, if you're going to talk to Melissa, do you want a neutral place? Y'all can meet here. Now, honestly, Jacqueline, that ain't really neutral. That's really not neutral. And Melissa's sisters had some reservation about Melissa going over to Jacqueline's house by herself to talk to Teresa. But Jacqueline's point was they probably don't need to be in a public space because it may go left. And we don't really want it to go left. So let them be in a private area so it can be a private conversation. So Carolyn comes over there to talk to Teresa before the conversation. And basically Carolyn was like, listen, you have to figure out a way to move past this. Not for you, but for the family, for your own sake. You have to figure out a way to get up to a place where you can move past it. Like, you have to get to that space. And, of course, Teresa, I've been trying. I don't know. I've been trying. No, you haven't. Girl, you ain't been trying. At all. Okay? And that's pretty much where the episode ended. It ended with them starting to have the conversation. But, of course, they left us there. The conversation is going to carry over to the next episode. But, honestly, it's Teresa in her own state of delusion about her trying to be the peacemaker and the sister and the understanding one, and how Melissa is all on Melissa, and Melissa didn't do this and Melissa didn't do that. So we'll see how the conversation finishes up in the next episode. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.